Roosevelt Institute, we've noticed some angry birds circling our New York office. They've been identified as Deficit Hawks, and they're crying out that deficits are going to crush our economy. Here to tell us what all this squawking is about is Rob Johnson, Director of Financial Reform at the Roosevelt Institute.
Yes, Lynn, there are deficit hawks, and they're swirling all around us now. They must have migrated south last winter, because all during the bank bailouts, these same people who are the creditors of the banks were not at all concerned about the deficit. And now that the banks are loaded up on carry trades, everybody wants to make sure those interest rates don't fly north. I worry about this because I think there's lots of productive use for public spending. Things that enhance productivity, things that make our lives better off. Spending on education, health, municipalities, roads and bridges are things that can enlarge our economy and our scope to service debt. The key question you have to ask is, when you take on debt, what are you going to do with the money? Can it be productive? Second concern I have with the deficit hawks is these guys all act like we're in a full employment economy and everything's getting crowded out. When you're in an underemployed economy, not only are you getting the long-term good if you're doing things right, if you're spending on the right things, but you're also taking people who are idle resources and putting them back to work, creating revenue, creating activity, so you get much more than the bang for your buck, and the deficit and the debt don't enlarge by as much as your original outlay. My biggest concern is with over 10% unemployment. If you do deficit reduction now, like we did in 1936, or like we did in Japan in the 90s, you can send us into a tailspin. And the deficit will actually get worse, not better, as unemployment rises towards the levels of the Great Depression. I'm talking about 20%. Right now, the private sector isn't investing. Private sector is repairing its balance sheet. Consumers are drawing in their horns. The government is the only source of aggregate demand that can push us back towards full employment, engender confidence, and jumpstart the private sector. We can't do deficit spending forever, but to withdraw it right now would be a great mistake.
That you've got everything you